What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 27 of the More Smarter Show with your hosts, Dylan and Jake. Jake, what do we have on the agenda today?
We got a solo episode. How many people just stopped listening right now? So to keep engagement, Dylan, I don't have my shirt off right now.
That's true. And it's the reason why you say that is because December
It's shirt off month.
in business is shirt off month. Tarps off.
That's self-proclaimed from Jake Handler. And Dylan, you're doing it too. 2025 is December is the start. Hopefully now those listeners that left just came back that my shirt is on.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm trying to make it a thing. I'm trying to get some other people in sales my friends across the country to be like, yeah, this is a good idea. Like, let's take our shirt off. Let's take our shirts off for December.
Probably not going well so far.
It's ironic because it's the coldest month. And it's also the month with the least amount of sales usually going on. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's a thing that I'm trying to start.
Yeah, it's like the rally, This is the time in business where, no one's really doing anything and you're just trying to plan for the following year. But I think what's most important is reassessing the year that had just passed. Especially as a business owner. I think that.
Yeah, I think as a business owner, and we're into the 6 Fs to live a well-rounded life. So certainly, honestly, I'm personally always assessing the 6 Fs on a day-to-day, and maybe not so much in writing like I would at the end of the year. But yeah, since December 3rd, 2025 right now, it's topical to talk about end-of-year goals. And in this episode, let's talk about our goals for the podcast for 2026, and maybe some reflection of how 2025 went while recording on the podcast.
Totally. I think let's start with reflection. Number one, we started this year. We started the podcast in 2025. I think it's a...
Did we? We started the official podcast, but we had spring training, I think, back in 2024.
Oh, we had spring training in February of 2025. Okay. I think that was our first episode, and that was our very Bush League spring training that we had at your house with a rinky-dink, horrible camera, and it's come a long way now. We've had pretty much like 20 plus guests, and it's been very great ride.
Yeah, back to that spring training, we sat on my couch, which my couch sucks, by the way. I got it on Black Friday a couple years ago. We still have it, but that sucks, especially to record on. And
it's awkward too. We were like literally shoulder to shoulder.
It's so bad. And so we were there.
And for anyone who wants to find those videos, we deleted them permanently.
Yeah. No, they're somewhere in the archive on the cloud, but not publicly. You got to know a guy. And we recorded like 20 episodes of me and you sitting on the couch. Mm-hmm. Right? On my couch.
Yeah.
I think at least 20.
Yeah. And what was horrible was I think the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes had no audio. And I didn't know that up until after when I was trying to edit it. And
I almost killed you.
Yeah.
Do you remember telling me?
Yeah. I think it was almost as worse as telling my first ever client that we didn't get their offer accepted.
That's way worse. I had Meg hold me back. I was like, are you, I was going, Meg's like, relax.
Yeah. Also put it in perspective, I was not begging, but I was like telling Jake that we have to get a podcast going. And
this was your idea.
I was trying to convince him for like literally months. And that's probably where you got 2024 was. I was literally since I met you, I was like, dude, we got to start a podcast. And then once the day that I got you to actually do it, I fucked up.
Well, at first I was hesitant because I didn't want to just be like an other podcast. Like, because we were using examples of really famous podcasts that are out there. And like, look, we could be them. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to be them. Like, I don't want to live a podcaster life. I don't want to go through that grind to get to the top in this industry. So then when I repivoted or reshifted the mindset to, you know what, this is a really cool opportunity to just talk to people I typically wouldn't talk to. Or if I would talk to them, I'm not talking to them about this topic when I am, right? Yeah. So I'm enjoying the shit out of that part of it. And I want to keep going consistently once a week forever.
Totally. And on top of that, it's something for at least, both of us, we just like to build relationships with people that are doing big things in life and that are really going after their goals and chasing what they're trying to accomplish. And this is a perfect segue to be around people that are like you. And it's really important.
Yeah. I'm not quite, I like to, I'm not quite there, but I feel like we're both going to level up in life and business by talking to people who are doing the thing that we want to do. And what's really cool too, more reflections of 2025, is the amount of guests that have reached out to me personally after that, we like through the questions or topics we discussed on the podcast really reshifted their way of thinking in their business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's like all I wanted. When you're like, I was a teacher, like all I want to hear is that I made a difference. Other people teach for other reasons. So that's how I feel about this. When I first heard that first person, which was Rob, tell me that, I was like, oh shit, this is so much fun.
Yeah, I love that. That makes me feel really good too about it too. I think it goes with the more smarter show. It makes you think, right? It's just how do you work more smarter? And I catch myself even now super consistently saying I'm working more dumber right now.
Me too.
I have, like, especially if I'm going to be a host of this, I got to really represent, I got to really represent what acting more smarter is. And that's, it's holding us to a higher standard, I think.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. But those who can't do teach. So we, even if we're not in the doers part of it, we're in the host part of it.
Yeah, true.
So what are you thinking for 2026? Because we've off camera have gone in the same path and then veered off a little bit from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what you were saying in the start is a good note, where building up in the podcast industry is tough, and it's not something that is easy to do, where you're getting sponsorships and you're traveling to get like the new top trend, whoever guest is on. I think that's where my mind was originally in early 2025. And, now that we've progressed a little bit more and we've kind of figured out our niche, and you and I have talked off air about what the goal and what we've kind of seen so far in being in the podcast world has given us, I think it's just doubling down with getting connected with people that are following their passion, and potentially figuring out a way to work with these people in the future.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind a sponsor from Bigelow Tea, because I drink decaf tea every episode.
I wouldn't mind a sponsor from Bloom either, too. That Bloom, that's the same energy drink that one of our guests, our most recent guest, was drinking. But I agree. So I mean, that's where my mindset was originally. Was, all right, I mean, it would be sweet to have some sort of sponsorship, right? But I also think that if we just keep building a community almost of people, entrepreneurs or self-employed individuals, it's going to be a crew of people that are working really hard to accomplish their dreams and goals. And that's really what I think is the goal of mine now.
Yeah. So I know me and you have a private meeting on this next week to talk about our goals, because I think that's so important with any partnership. Totally. Talk about the next year, etc. But I'm going to share some, because I'm already prepared, obviously, a week in advance. So I'm going to share some goals that I have, and let me know what you think.
All right, let's do it.
I think, so one of my goals is for a guest to recommend another guest. Oh, shit, I wrote this down. It's not for me. A guest to recommend another, or to use another guest's industry, in their industry. Does that make sense? No? Okay, so.
No, repeat it again.
So if guest one listens to guest two's episode and it's like, hey, I heard you on the More Smarter show, I need an electrician, that is a huge goal of mine.
That is, that's crucial.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I mean, that is creating, I feel like one of our problems right now, and I guess I'll just voice this, is a lot of the people that we're getting on as guests are great people, but they're not listeners, so that's I guess that's a problem, where without that wouldn't happen right now.
Well, yeah, because that's a goal. Yeah, that's a goal. That's actually goal 2. Let me just rewind to goal 1, which would first be a random listener calls a vendor that we have on and say, hey, I want to use you as my accountant because I heard you on the More Smarter show. That's goal number 1, which I'm sure has happened before. And I think I know examples actually where it did. So that's great, but it's still a goal to have that consistently. And then goal 2 back would be a guest to refer another guest.
Yes. Now, I think on top of that, it's now going to attract more self-employed and business owners to be coming on to the More Smarter show. I think that's something that is a goal of mine. Is we want to have an abundance of people to talk to. And right now I feel like we have a good pipeline. We have like 7 podcasts lined up.
Yeah, at least. We're lined up for 2026, first 2 or 3 months. But
Exactly.
that brings up a great challenge of other podcasts, and
Yeah,
it's really easy to think of that handful of people already in your life that could be a guest.
totally.
But what's cool for us, and leads me to my third goal, is to get one random inquiry to be a guest to us per week. I
Yeah.
think we've had 3 of those so far, probably through social media
Mhm.
in 2025. And
Yeah.
I want one per week in 2026.
Yeah. I think it's possible. I think it'll start rolling in maybe May or June,
Yeah,
maybe 2 a week, and it'll make up for a couple
sure.
missed week earlier in the year. I think that that is absolutely a goal, because then now this podcast is fully expanding our network, not only just in building relationships that we already have, but in people that we didn't even know. So that, I mean, that's just massive.
Yeah, and I tease that we go in a straight line, but then veer off from each other a little bit. So I think we're
Mhm.
aligned with those 3 goals.
Yeah.
And maybe we differ in what happens next, what you want from it.
Yeah. Where I think you've changed my mind a little bit more now, because I've also been prepping out those goals, where I am thinking, what even, because originally, let's step back. Originally, my goal with it was, let's get the sponsorships, let's get to the 1 million subscribers by whatever 2027 or whatever it is, right? That is very similar to me saying I want to make $100,000 in 1 year.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with anything.
Yes.
And I'm grateful to have hit that. I'm looking at myself and I'm like, all right, I'm feeling the exact same way as if I made $25,000, and it'll probably be the exact same if I make $400,000. So, what are the characteristics that are in the year or in the business that actually matters more? And so, going into our differs, that was where I was originally at. That I think we split, but now, since like looking into it more, I was like, it is those relationships. It is being able to now have, people on my phone that I can just call and ask for advice, or say, hey, like, I'm thinking about joining a construction company. Do you have 30 minutes to talk? And I would love to
Yeah.
get your advice. I know you're doing this exact same thing. That.
Yeah, we're aligned there. So it looks like we're getting back on track to being aligned, because yes, that's where I was going with it, where I would disagree if our goals were going to be some sort of views or money related goals, because you made a great analogy. In work, being a self-employed person, it's really about the customer, not you. If you remove
Mhm.
yourself from the monetary goal, you're doing a better job and more money will flow through. And I feel the same way about all things I'm doing, including this podcast. I just want to create great content and meet awesome people.
Totally. Yeah, totally. And the second that, and to go back to the money part, the second that you don't have that commission breath, or you don't have that, future money or whatever views, is the second that you start not only doing 10 times better, but you're doing 10 times better because you don't really, oh, I don't want to say don't care as much, but it's not as big of an impact
Correct. You could be
if
more
things go wrong.
selective.
Yes.
You could be more
Yes.
selective. And that's where, back to episode 1 of the reboot, not spring training episode 1, house hacking. Like, it really comes down to that, right? Because
Yeah.
if we're breaking it down, let's look at the foundation in your life, in your finances, that you can fall back on, which allows you to then take more chances, be more selective with business. It is a
Totally.
dark place. I'm saying this as if I have ever been there, but I haven't. But it's
Hmm.
probably a dark place to need a commission,
Hmm.
to need someone to sell, to sell something to someone. I'm thankful to have never been in that position, because my experience was I was dual career when I became a realtor. I didn't just go all in. I was doing another career as well. And thankfully, again, the foundation for house hacking is why I never feel that way, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that can happen though in your own expectations. I just for myself, I haven't house hacked yet. I haven't gotten started, but where my goals were and how I am going throughout my business, there is an expectation. And then especially in residential real estate, where you and I are both in real estate sales, is if one emotional situation happens with a client or multiple clients, that significantly affects your profit for how.
Yeah. I'm working with all repeat clients right now. Every single one of the people in my sphere, I mean, in my who I'm doing business with, is a repeat client. That's
Meaning
amazing.
they're repeat because you closed them, or they came back after taking a pause
I closed them
and they came back.
back years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this connects with podcast goals because it's all the same foundation. I feel like there's great words for that I'm missing, but it all comes together where it's the nucleus of the intent, right? And I went to Puerto Rico 2 weeks ago. I'm going to Florida for the whole month of January, and my clients are going to be loyal to me. It's not going to
Mhm.
be that easy to be a buyer's agent in Florida, right?
Yeah.
While being in Florida for
Yeah.
properties in New Jersey. But I've
Definitely.
got my team in place and I've got the loyal customers that trust me that I'm going to actually have more time to do the cool things like negotiate and make sure the dots are, all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Is that something that you want to carry throughout 2026? Is being a little bit more hands off in your realtor business?
That was my 2025 goal, actually. It started in 2024. I experimented back in the summer of 24 where I started partnering with some buyers agents, showing assistants, and it's so amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I have challenges with myself because I'm giving up money. I'm trying to get over that, and I do, and I'm still working that same system, so I'm over it. But I do have to. Sometimes I calculate how much money I'm giving to the other person,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oof, it's a lot of money for some showings, but it's better for
Yeah.
the customer.
But so I feel like I don't do that. Put it in perspective. I don't do that, and I feel a lot of the time I'm running myself wild by going, especially over the spring and summer. I'm running myself wild going to showings and doing all that sort of stuff. So one way that I mentally try and stay away from that is I set, or at least this is my goal in 2026. I did not do this in 2025, so that's why I felt so out of control. I'm setting a standard where I don't show on a Sunday morning. And Sunday mornings are just to relax or just to go to a workout or just to do whatever. And setting that standard for myself and managing those expectations with my clients.
Yeah, it is along the lines of what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
but I still think you're doing a little bit of the podcast thing of you're like worrying about the wrong things a little bit. I don't have like a set schedule of when it works for me with my buyers, even when I'm solo. It's just where do these buyers come from? Why are they reaching out to you? If they're reaching out to you in a way where there's not a second person ever because you add too much value for there to be a second person and they're committed to you, then I don't have to preface it with I don't do showings on Sunday mornings. One, I probably want to do a showing if I'm around because I like
Yeah,
working with this person who likes working with me. And
sure.
two, it's just like hey, I can't do it. Let's do Monday. And it's like, okay, like I'm their professional. I think it's fine to not have a predetermined schedule that doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
It,
So, I mean, I agree, but I think the second that you don't manage that from the start and you are really busy, your whole life gets flipped upside down if you don't know how to control it.
I mean, real estate is not something where you have to see it tomorrow. Obviously, there's deadlines within a week sometimes of highest and best. So, yeah, there's some sort of deadlines, but it's not like we're texting about it for the first time on Saturday and you must submit an offer by Sunday. That doesn't happen. So, I'm always just educating my clients. Hey, we don't have to. Hey, yeah, highest and best might be like Wednesday, so let's see it Tuesday, or something that works for both of us. It's not really ever a conversation of contention of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, then we'll get away from showings and we'll look at
Yeah.
more like the productivity of time is one thing that I've been focusing on a lot in 2020 and the preparation for 2026 because I feel like delegating my time in 2025 was something that I did very lackluster. I accepted a lot of meetings that I knew I really shouldn't have gone on and there was not going to be a benefit for me or the other person. That's something that I'm more consciously going into 2026. I'm okay with saying no to things now. Where I'm, for the start of it's for all of 2025, I wasn't, and it needs to make sense to those 7 Fs. And if it makes sense, I'll spend my time doing that.
You're going to need to be more specific with your goals, not on the podcast, but to yourself about what you should say no to. Because if you're just like, I should say no more, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well,
So
the stuff that doesn't align with the priorities.
Still, I urge you to be more specific to yourself.
Yeah.
But
okay.
anyway, let's connect this back to the podcast. because we have also been more smart. At first, we were more dumber with
Mm-hmm.
this podcast, ironically,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I mean, you were coming to my house. We were having terrible equipment, sitting on a bed
Very
couch.
dumb.
It was a long drive for you, and then I had to buy you dinner every time, and and then we were doing this online where the studio wasn't as great as it is now. We didn't invest into that. We didn't have any systems like our Google form that we have for new applications, or automated emails when there's a new guest, or assessing whether that person should be on or not as a group with a scheduled time. Those things we now have in place, ironically, working more smarter on the podcast.
Yeah. Which makes our life 10 times easier. And I think when this is more of what I was talking about before, when you don't have those expectations going into the new year, like this is our new standard. So if we don't have that standard going in, you're going to be running all over the place and feel like you're working 10 times harder when all you need is to figure out what the standard is and work smarter.
That's right. That's right. And it's awesome to feel that in 2025, going through this More Smarter Show podcast, it had us thinking actually more smarter with the podcast, and obviously within our 2026 goals outside of the podcast as well.
Yeah. Now, the thing is though, is at this point, where do you even go from here?
What?
There's always room to improve, right? But I think it's down to a system. So that's a lot of the conversations that we've had, where it's you figure out what works and you keep doubling down and you keep doing that exact same thing. So we just have that's what it would be.
Yeah, and I'd like to hear in the comments or individual texts or emails or whatever what anyone else thinks we can do better.
Yeah.
But please watch the last few episodes, not the original few, because I already know those answers. There's a ton of content that has become more premium content, and excited to see a year from now. We just need to keep these guests rolling.
Yep, exactly.
Qualified guests.
Is there stuff that we can do besides social media and besides past guest referrals to be attracting more quality guests?
I like that you added more quality guests like I did, because we do have some applications that we did not accept. Not that they're not quality people, but they're not a good fit for what we're going for with the content, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're self-employed. Maybe they think they have a business, but they can't go on vacation. And those conversations are nice to have with those people to dissect that, but we kind of have done that. So we're looking for that business owner. How do we get more? I don't know. I think we just keep pushing out content and getting people that we can. And personally, I have all these LinkedIn posts scheduled for every day for the next however many episodes we've had. And I feel like we're going to get some applications through there, which you have not even looked at.
I haven't looked at that yet.
Yeah, I tag you in every single one, and it took me probably 2 hours. Well, it would have been 2 hours, but you called me in between, so about 3 hours to do. But I'm glad you haven't looked at it. That's awesome.
I got to start allowing notifications to my LinkedIn only. I don't allow notifications to my social medias.
Nice.
And that's partially bringing myself to focus on what's important.
I like that move. I think I'm gonna do that. I already have like an Instagram off because I get a lot of those, but the lesser ones, the other socials I have on, and I think I'm gonna turn them off. I
blow
like
your
that
phone
move.
up.
I like that move.
You probably have like an ESPN thing. It like
I
goes
actually
off.
don't. No, I get no notifications. Kind of like for the same reason. It's intentional.
Yeah. Oh my.
I don't have anything notify me except those one-off socials. But a LinkedIn post or message is like very different. Well, not a message. A lot of those spam messages happen. Those are annoying.
The thing is, though, I think those are not moving the chains forward. There was this saying in my middle school at Mount Olive. There's this guy who came in. He's like, move the chains downfield. He was like,
what's my obvious joke right now?
I don't know.
I was like, so obvious. Oh, so in 2021, a guy came into your school. That's my joke. Like you were just in middle school
that
4
it was
years
like
ago.
2 years ago. Yeah. In middle school, when I was, that was only 2 years ago.
Right.
This guy he was like, move the chains downfield. He played for the Giants, won a Super Bowl, and his biggest thing was like, take those small wins, and if those small wins are blocking yourself away from those things that are those tackle for losses, then do that. Do everything that you possibly can to move yourself in the right direction. And thinking about it with the podcast, whether that's putting yourself in those rooms with people that you look up to and you want to talk to more, or communicate with people more directly, of like learning how to actually have these in-depth conversations with people and having the difficult conversations,
Yeah.
those are the things that are going to move it forward.
And I think we said last episode that we had an accountant on, Ben, who did a great job, a great episode. And we said after the call in front of Ben, we were like, the best part about that episode, the content we focused on, is we can have another accountant on, because they might have merged partners with it in a different way or had a different story to get there. So it's not so much that we need an account, we didn't learn anything about accounting, which was the goal, and Ben did a great job for that. And that's
Totally.
what makes me excited for more people and more variety of guests.
Yeah. I think the separation of the industry and the person is crucial in the podcast world.
Well, the industry and the business, I think, right?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, but if we're going to look at it where, if you're like, all right, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how well did you get to know that person? On a scale of 1 to 10, how well did you get to know his business? You'd rather want to know the person better.
Yeah. Yes.
And yes. So,
well, I mostly agree. The person
Yes.
through the lens of business. Yes. I don't care where they're born. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's where it's really exciting, because I think when you look at like those more podcasty people, they talk about, and maybe this is like just future lens going on, because, we're not there yet. We're only like 20 something episodes in. When you get to a certain point, all you have to talk about is the clickbaity stuff, the stuff that is going to drive the views, especially if they're doing it like a full-time kind of thing. And they're bringing on real estate people strictly to talk about real estate and not how they got into real estate or whatever their process was.
Yeah. And, well, as we wrap up soon, I do want to also acknowledge that, in my opinion, when I'm listening to guests on different podcasts, I care less about the famous person as a guest. And I really like hearing the average Joe's story of how they got to be, financially free, or owned real estate or owned a business. Do you agree?
I would say yes. I think it's more relatable.
Yeah. I don't really care for the billionaire's story. I know there's a ton of channels on that.
Yeah.
I listen sometimes when they're relevant guests in my life, but otherwise I don't care.
I think I care about the people that I would more aspire to be like. Like, I was listening to like a Rory McIlroy. I don't want to be obviously like him. He's like a billionaire, but like Rory McIlroy talking about how he got started in property management in college.
The golfer?
No.
Oh, I know. Glenn McIlroy or something?
Ken McIlroy.
Greg is the Jets quarterback, and Rory
is the golfer.
That's why I was like, what the hell?
So Ken McIlroy is so he
CPA.
got started. Yeah. So he's like a real estate billionaire guy, whatever. But like that sort of stuff, I think is cool to see. And then obviously they took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. And again, because it's in our wheelhouse of real estate and depreciation, things that we like to think and talk about. So then I agree. But the average billionaire, I get it. You grew up poor. You took a chance on yourself, and 1980s was a different time. I get it. It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm excited to keep talking to people that keep, that are regular Joes with businesses, and how they keep thriving, especially in 2026.
Yeah, we have one more episode of 26. We have coming out on December 31st of 2026, and then of 2025. And then we'll be rolling into 2026 shirts on at home also. Yeah.
So we're gonna have our shirts off for that episode. So if you really want to see that, then tune in.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Jake, this is great. What should be like our little send off here, being it's our last solo episode of 2025?
Okay. Don't subscribe, don't like it, and don't share it.
Only if you don't like it.
Just don't do it. It won't help us at all. Don't. We didn't just have a 30-minute episode about goals, so don't do it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.